Shalom. This is Hadassah Bat Saiwan returning with the book of Revelation, and we are still in chapter 20, and this is part 5. And this study is called the War of Gog and Magog. In the previous study, in part 4, we looked at Gog and Magog to determine who these two entities represent, what Alahayam is speaking to us when he speaks of Gog and Magog. So now we're going to look at the war of Gog and Magog, and we're going to be using the book of Yahazaka'ah, who is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, in this particular study. And then we'll go on in the next few studies to chapter 39. Actually, chapter 38 is going to cover 2 studies because it's quite in depth. Okay? So let's get started. We have looked at the war of Armageddon, which will occur right after Hamashiach returns to the earth with his saints. We looked at that in chapter 19. Now we will look at in detail the war after Hamashiach's millennial reign on the earth, the war of Gog and Magog. So there was a war as he returned to the earth, and then there's a war after his 1,000-year reign on the earth. But before we get started on this war, according to the prophecy of Yahazaka'al, who is Ezekiel, let us reflect on what took place just before this war was prophesied by him. So we're going to start with chapter 37. We're going to do a quick reflection on that chapter and try to put everything in its perspective, okay? Put the events in their perspective. So in chapter 37, this is in Yahazaka'al, we see the description of his vision called the Valley of Dry Bones. Now, we did a study on this, and it was the second exodus of the northern kingdom, and also the second exodus into the wilderness. So we've done detailed studies on this. We've looked at it in detail, so we don't need to go through this again. We're just going to reflect on it. From a previous study on the second exodus of the northern kingdom, we have learned that this whole house of Yashwa'al is the northern kingdom, as they were dead, dried, scattered bones. They were scattered. They still are a scattered people. After they left in 721 BCE, they left the region and they headed over to Africa. Now they're spreaded farther afield, yes, because of transportation. But the general majority of our Northern Kingdom brethren, the greater majority of our Northern Kingdom brethren, they are in Africa. And we looked at that as well. But they are scattered bones, and they're dead, and they're dried. What makes them dead? They have not been quickened by Hamashiach due to the awakening of their identity and who they serve, and their belief in Hamashiach. It starts with you believing in Hamashiach, and then Ruach HaKodesh comes and he quickens you. So they're dry, they do not have the word of Allah Hayam, which comes through Hamashiach. All right, the water is the word. And what makes us dry is a lack of the word. And what makes us dead is when we're not quickened by Ruach HaKodesh. And all this points to one person, that is Hamashiach. So that's how he described them in Yahazaka'al, chapter 37. Dry, dead bones. And we're speaking only of the northern kingdom. The southern kingdom, they've been awakened. All right? We've been awakened. It doesn't matter, there's still many of our brethren sleeping, but we have been awakened. All right? This is their state right now, living in the countries where they have assimilated themselves. A prophetic word has been spoken over the northern kingdom, and at its appointed time, this prophecy of their regathering will come to pass. So let's look at Yahazakaal chapter 37, verse 11. Then he said unto me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Yashraal. Behold, they say, Our bones are dried, and our hope is lost. We are cut off for our parts. Therefore prophesy and say unto them, Thus said Yahweh Elohim, Behold, O my people, I will open your graves, and cause you to come up out of your graves, and bring you into the land of Yashraal. And you shall know that I am Yahweh when I have opened your graves, O my people, and brought you up out of your graves, and shall put my Ruach in you, and you shall live, and I shall place you in your own land, and then shall you know that I Yahweh have spoken it and performed it, said Yahweh. So you see what he is doing? He's going to speak a word. That prophecy has been given a long time ago, but it will come to its fruition when it's time for the northern kingdom to be awakened. And then they will rise up. As we know from this prophecy, that they were standing on their feet, bone connected to bone, and then the tissue and the flesh, but they were still dead. Until Ruach HaKodesh will breathe upon them, and then they became his people. That is the quickening of Ruach HaKodesh. So until the northern kingdom is awakened by Elohim Yahweh and quickened by his Ruach, they're going to remain sleeping as they are right now. So all those people talking about, oh yeah, 12 tribes going into the wilderness. Well, I don't know which tribes you're talking about, but it's certainly not the northern kingdom. It's not the northern kingdom. They're sleeping, and no man can wake them up. You can know 100% sure that this man, and I'm just using this as an example, this man is of the northern kingdom. So you will take it upon yourself to go and preach the gospel to him. He's caught up in some other religion. Do you think he's going to listen to you? Really? No man can wake these 9.5 tribes up. No man. No man. Because Elohim himself is going to wake them up. All right? All right. So let's read on. The northern kingdom, consisting of 9.5 tribes, will be revived after the southern kingdom is taken off this earth in chariots. Why? Because Elohim is dealing with us separately. He's dealing with the southern kingdom first because we were the last to be scattered. And we were the ones Hamashiach. He was the one that gave us the gospel. Our forefathers were alive and received the gospel straight from Hamashiach. And after Hamashiach died and rose again, he left his disciples who became his apostles to carry on his ministry. And that ministry was to spread the good news of the kingdom. And that's what his servants have been doing until we were scattered once again and for the final time, and we were also enslaved. And then from there on, We lost the message of the kingdom because we were assimilated into our master's culture and their countries. We were slaves in their country. So, as slaves, we had to adopt the master's religion and his culture. And because of that, we lost our way until Allah woke us up and gave us the revelation of our identity and who we really came from, where we really came from. The countries and islands that we were born in are not the places where we came from originally. Originally, we were from Yashraal, but we were taken as slaves. We ran for our lives. Our forefathers, they ran for their lives. And wherever they ran in Africa, they were captured again and made slaves. We, this generation that is alive today, we were born in captivity, not knowing anything. This is 4 generations later, not knowing anything. All right? And that's how it is with us today. Until Allah woke us up and gave us the revelation. And then he led us to his word and Ruach HaKadosh. He quickened us and he revealed HaMashiach in his word. He revealed his truth in his word. And that's where we are today. Let's read on. What will trigger their awakening will be the 3 days of darkness. That will be the beginning of their trigger. Because they're going to have to go through the hardships, the harshness of these 3 days. They're not going to be sheltered. No, they're not. They're going to defile themselves in the darkness. Just like all the other Gentiles. You know why? Because they are Gentiles. And they will remain Gentiles until they wake up and they make the decision to serve Allah. The Northern Kingdom will have to endure their time of war with the NWO, Beast Empire number 7, where many righteous brethren will be martyred. So that will be the next thing on their calendar to endure. That big war that is coming for them. Allah will bring an abrupt halt to this war, which will last 3.5 years from its inception. The great earthquake, which will occur in seal number 6, will be the event to destroy all of the technology of this beast empire, causing it to go underground for a while. It will be at this time that the Northern Kingdom will get ready for their second exodus into the wilderness, heading to our land, Yashraal. Now you may be wondering, why am I going through all of this again? Well, there may be some people listening to this study for the first time. I'm trying to give a quick recap of what we've covered thus far. Just a quick recap. If you want the individual studies, you have to go into the individual studies, and I have all the evidence there from the scriptures. But this is a quick recap, all right? They will make it into the land of Yashraal, by trumpet number 7. And there they will remain until Hamashiach returns to the earth with the southern kingdom. It is at this time he will reconcile the 2 kingdoms together to make them one again in his newly established tabernacle upon Mount Sayawan. So let's look at Yahazakaal chapter 37, verse 19. Say unto them, thus saith Yahweh Elohim, behold, I will take the stick of Yahweh, which is in the hand of Aparayim, who is Ephraim, and the tribes of Yashraal his fellows, So the stick of Yahweh, which is in the hand of Apariam, who is Ephraim, was the son of Yahweh, who is Joseph. And we know Joseph's two sons, Manasseh and Apariam, they are included in the 12 tribes. You see it, the genealogy in certain books where you don't see Yahweh, and because Lawai at that time of the Exodus, they were their inheritance, was Alahayam. They were his priest and priesthood, high priest and priesthood. So they did not have an inheritance or with the other tribes. However, Yahweh's two sons came in to make it the 12 tribes. One replaced Yahweh and the other replaced Lawai. But at the ending of the age, you will see Yahweh again, which will be inclusive of Apariam and Manasseh. All right? I know people will, oh, he took Dan out and do all this nonsense. No. It was the wicked people that took the tribe of Dan out of the lineage, out of the book of Revelation when it was being listed. The 12 tribes were being listed. All right? That was the work of the wicked people, not Alahayam. 12 tribes are the 12 sons of Yahweh. At the end of the age, they're the ones that will be listed. All right? So this is the stick of Yahweh, which is in the hand of Apariam. That is the northern kingdom. And the tribes of Yashrael, his fellows, which will be inclusive of the 9.5 tribes. And will put with him with the stick of Yahweh, this is Judah, and make them one stick. So the northern kingdom will be put with the stick of the northern kingdom will be put with the stick of Yahweh, the southern kingdom, and they will become one stick in my hand. This is what Alahayam is saying. Let me read on. And make them one stick, and there shall be one in my hand. No, he's not going to put them side by side. Like I see some diagrams, some pictures drawn. How can you put two sticks side by side? There's still two sticks. How does that become one? Just because you hold them as one stick? No. What he is trying to explain, the end of one stick will meet the other end of another stick, and his hand is going to hold it in the middle, and voila, it becomes one stick. In the sight of people, in the sight of anyone. If you put two sticks in your hand side by side, they still look like two sticks, right? So those diagrams are very stupid. It's going to look like one complete stick, like a staff. All right? I don't know who the artist was that did that, but that is the dumbest drawing of this, of an example of this imagery here. The dumbest. If it's going to be one in his hand, it's going to look like one in his hand. So you're going to have one end sticking out at the bottom part of his hand where the pinky finger is, and the other end will be sticking out where his forefinger and thumb will be. And when you look at it, it will look like one stick, wouldn't it? Yes, it will. You got to use, let Ruach HaKodesh explain these things to you, these precepts to you. Don't take other people's word for it. You look at it and say, well, that doesn't make any sense. Then ask him, what is the correction? What is wrong with this image here? All right? Verse 21. And say unto them, thus saith Yahweh Alahayam, behold, I will take Habanai, Ol Yashrael, that means the house of Yashrael, from among the heathen where they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. So that's the northern kingdom that he's speaking about. All right. Verse 22. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Yashrael. Now, did he say, I will make them one nation in the wilderness? Is he going to make them one nation, meaning 12 tribes, on their way into the wilderness? No. He said, I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Yashrael. And one Malak shall be Malak to them all. And they shall be no more two kingdoms at all. So they will become one kingdom in the land of Yashrael. And we saw that in Revelation chapter 19 when Hamashiach came, returned with the saints of the southern kingdom. And he made them one in his tabernacle, which is upon the mountain, Mount Zion. If you have not seen that study, please, I will strongly encourage you to go and watch that study. After reconciling the two kingdoms together, making them one again, next they need to be reconciled to him. And then Ha'aba, the Father. Hamashiach will ride out with his 12 tribes to the war of Armageddon, destroying our enemies forever. It will be at this time that Hamashiach will begin his millennial reign. After the 1,000 years are up, Gadriel will be loosed from his abyss, and it will be at this time the last war will begin. It will be the last war forever and ever and ever. No more wars ever again. No more evil ever again. The prophecy in Yahazakael chapters 38 and 39 will help us to understand how this war will be fought and won by Allahayam Yahweh. So now we're going to get started with the book of Yahazakael chapter 38, the book of Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 1. And we have looked at that in the previous study in part 4, so we're not going to go into detail again, but we're going to reflect on what we have studied before, okay? And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set your face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesied against him, and say, Thus said Yahweh, Allahayah, behold, I am against you, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. So we have looked at this in great detail. So we're not going to look at it in detail again. We're just going to reflect on what we have studied, okay? In the previous study, we came to understand the significance of Gog and Magog. According to the wording of these verses, Gog is a chief prince who will be the last Satan, Gadriel. As Gadriel is an evil spirit, he will need earthly agents to carry out his agendas on the earth. He will employ leaders over his great army, who will be the earthly components to complete Gog. Therefore, Gog is the Satan Gadriel and his evil henchmen, who will be the captains, etc., of his army. And they will be his hands and feet to bring about his evil agendas. He's a spirit, but he needs earthly agents to help rally his troops together. All right? So that is Gog. So Gog is both evil spirit, who is Satan, and his leaders. All right? The captains, the sergeants, whatever titles that there are in an army, that's who they are. Because this is going to be a massive army. A massive, massive army. And armies, they have people in ranks, leaders with their ranks to help control them from the privates all the way up to the generals. But Satan is going to be the one who's be calling the shots. He'll be the one giving them the plans, telling them what to do. You see, Satan can't possess anyone anymore. He's been barred. But he will send the evil spirits and his fallen angels to possess those people. Once they side with him, they're going to be all possessed with devils. And that makes his plans flow a little easier, because now the human nature will be not really prone to massacre unless they're possessed with an evil spirit. Because there's something called guilt. But if you're possessed with an evil spirit, there's no guilt involved. You're just hungry for blood. And this is the last go around now. This is the last war. So Allah he's going to totally step back and let Satan come and do his worst in these people and through these people. So he's not going to prevent him anymore. You see, these people that will be in the army of Gadriel, they will have come out of that 1,000-year reign with Hamashiach, living in peace and prosperity. So there's nothing more that Allah can do to prove to them that he is the good entity, the good person in all of this. That he is good. They don't care about him. They never really did care about him. And we saw that in part 4. All right? We saw that in the last study. They care nothing about him. So this is who Gog is, the leadership that will control the army of Gadriel. So Gadriel and his henchmen, Gadriel and his leaders, that's Gog. Now Magog, although called the land of Gog, is really referring to a people and a spiritual realm, which is also called a principality, governed by Gog, who we know is Gadriel. Gadriel is a spirit. Therefore, his territory will also be of the spiritual realm, which is the principality. Together with all the heathen Gentiles that will be gathered with him after he is released from his abyss, are both referred to as Magog. So when Allah speaks of Magog, he's talking about those that will be in Gadriel's army. And the leaders over those people, they're also called Gog. Along with Satan himself, Gadriel, he is also referred to as Gog. We saw examples of this in the last study, where Persia and Grecia were principalities. Yet there were also people and even an empire with the same names. All right? Another example of chief prince and principality is Mayaka'al, who is Michael. He is one of the 7 archangels, one of the good guys. Also called the 7 thunders. He's one of the 7 thunders. So the 7 archangels are the 7 thunders. And he is the great prince angel over Yashra'al, the 12 tribes, and our principality by the same name, just like Gadriel is the chief prince over Magog. So we have a chief prince over us that governs us as people on the earth or land, and even the spiritual realm, which is also called Yashra'al. All right? Meshach and Tubal help us to identify the origins of some of these Gentiles. Meshach was the son of Japheth, and Japheth was the son of Noach, who is Noah. Tubal was also a son of Japheth, and we know that all Europeans and Asians are the offspring of Japheth. Therefore, the territory of Gog, who is Gadriel, that will be lured into the mountains of Yashraal, will be the heathen descendants of the once Gentile nations of Europe and Asia. Most of these Gentiles will be so amalgamated at this point of time after the 1,000 years of cohabitating, marrying each other, and procreating, that they will no longer resemble a particular nation anymore. They will be a melting pot of nationalities. Now, we looked at this in the previous study as well. Let's read on. These will be the wicked ones who will be called collectively Magog, the principality of Gog. For they will serve Gog. They will serve Gadriel. The reason why they will be Magog, the wicked ones, because they will care nothing about their ancestral nationalities in order to preserve their identities. And the same will go for their ancestral history. The forefathers of these Gentiles will not care about their own nationalities or the history of the judgments of the earth and the worship of Allah Hayam, and will not pass this information on to their descendants. This is made evident by their lack of care about themselves. Now, there will be some that would have started the ball rolling in passing on some information about the judgments, like the trumpet judgments, the trumpet judgments, and also the seal, the vial judgments. Yes, they would have passed on about all those things that they went through to their children that were born to them. And their children would have seen some evidence of some of the things that have been happening on the earth. So they would have passed on to their children as well. But somehow, by the 1,000th generation, many of these Gentiles will not have the information or the history of what their forefathers have been through. Now think about Yashraal. Think about the southern kingdom when they were taken in slavery over the span of time, 400 years. Our history was lost. Our culture was lost. Our language was lost. Even our names. Everything was changed. And we became a different people. We became Gentiles. That's after 400 years. Now, imagine after 1,000 years. How lost these people will be as far as their identities will be, or were. They wouldn't even know where their father came from, their immediate father. I'm not talking about forefather, and so on and so forth, because they will care nothing about that. And as they care nothing about their own nationality, because if you have two people, husband and wife, from two different cultures, and they get married. Well, they're married, their husband and wife, and they have children. Children will be mixed. Sometimes it's a conflict, sometimes it's not. And sometimes the children grow up, they don't care about where the father came from and where the mother came from, depending on the generation that this child was born in. You find children of today, they care nothing about their ancestry. All right? They care nothing about their lineage. However, there are some cultures that are very strong in their culture, like the Chinese and the Indians and so on and so forth. They're very strong when it comes to their culture. And that's why when they travel to different countries, They create their own community to preserve their culture, to preserve their nationality. And they marry even within their own community or their own people. Some of them will send back to their own country to marry a wife or a husband from their own country. All right? This is how they do it. But in these 1,000 years, that's not going to happen anymore. The boundaries are gone for the countries. So people are free to roam wherever they want to roam, except in our city. They can even pass through Yashraal, but they just can't come into our city. So there's going to be a lot of mixing of people. And as they mix, they grow very careless about their identity. They only live for the now. And if they care little about themselves, you think that they would care anything about the history of what happened in the world? As far as they're concerned, nothing really happened. That might have been just a fairy tale because it was so long ago when all those bad things had happened, and by that time the earth had replenished itself. So it's hard for them to understand how the world was before the great earthquake, before the judgments. So this is the mentality of people that will be living on the earth at this point of time. And if they care little about themselves and their history and their culture, their ancestral nationalities, they will care even less about Allah Hayam and why their forefathers worshipped him. They will know that if they don't worship him, bad things are going to happen to them. So they're going to do it out of obligation. All right? And that's why the very first opportunity that came to them through Gadriel to rebel against Allah Hayam, they ran to him. In fact, I'm speaking in past tense as if it's happened already. They will run to him because they want to destroy those people that live in like royalty in their city, in the city of Yerushalayim. And they hate us. They will hate us. Now they're possessed with devils. They will definitely be hating us. They've been resentful, but now they're going to be hateful. And murderously so too. All right? So that's the group that will be called Magog. There will be a remnant of these Gentiles that will preserve their ancestral nationalities. These ones will not be named Magog, as they will be worshippers of Allah Hayam. Also to note that these European and Asian descendants are not the only ones named to be a part of this massive army of Gadriel. There will be the Africans, the descendants of Ham, another son of Noach. We will encounter this later in the studies about the war of Gog and Magog. Allah Hayam has set himself against Gog and Magog to destroy them. And so this prophecy spoken by Yahya so many generations ago is soon due to be fulfilled. So this war has not taken place yet. It will be taking place after the millennial reign of Hamashiach. Okay, verse 4 of Revelation of Yahya chapter 38. And I will turn you back and put hooks into your jaws, and I will bring you forth, and all your army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Are we reading this carefully? Now, where's technology? Where are the tanks? Where are the fighter jets? Where are the big guns? None of that. And this is set in the last days, you know. because technology was destroyed in seal number 6. Once that was destroyed, all of those things that I mentioned, they, they have no purpose. They cannot be used. They become junk, expensive junk. Because what the mistake that these people have done, right, is that they attach AI and computers to their technology, right? Even a simple thing like a handgun, they can't use. Why? You need electricity even to make you if you're going to use manual labor, you still need electricity to make the different components to make a gun and even the bullets. You can't do it without certain machinery. Allah is just going to wipe that away. He's just going to destroy it all. The great earthquake is going to swallow up a lot of their whatever they, I don't want to call them satellites, but the the grids, the electric grids that they're so dependent on. All the different things that they use to create electricity, the dams and whatnot, all of that is going to be destroyed. There'll be no more electricity after the 6th seal. Everything will be devastated. Everything. But Allah will preserve some people. He will preserve some people. All right? But technology will be destroyed completely, utterly destroyed. And that's why these ones, they're coming with horses. They're not coming in cars. They have computer chips and all kind of nonsense in cars these days. You can't, if the computer goes in the car, you can't even use it. You might have gasoline, the engine might be okay, but there's something wrong with the computer system in the car, so the car is finished. I remember back in the day when you were able to buy a printer and the printer worked perfectly fine. Yes, it was, you use a lot of wiring and the whatnots, right? So what? But now they made them wireless. And if one, and some some printers, they have 3 things attached to their scanner, a printer, and something else, right? And if there's a slight problem in one of those elements, whether it's the printer or whatnot, the whole thing is useless. Right? The whole thing is useless. It just has to go wrong with some part of the computering system. I'm not a technical person, all right? So I'm calling words, but I know what I mean. But if one thing goes wrong in that printer, the whole printer is done. It's completely shut down. And then it costs an arm and a leg to get it fixed. You might as well just go and buy a new one because that's the way how they built them. They built them to break down, so you go buy another one. But the old printers that were hooked up to wiring and stuff like that, they can be easily fixed. Same thing with the television. Remember tube televisions? They were easy to be fixed. You just replaced the tubes. I remember those days. Now you got that flat screen TV that goes bum. It's too expensive to fix. You need to get a new one. That's how they make them. So this is what is going to happen to this world by the 6th seal. Technology will be gone. And there will be nothing that anyone can do about it. I know some people get upset because they like their smartphones and their computers and this and that. But you know what? It's all good. That's how they've been controlling us. Do you want to be controlled, or do you want to be free of this system? Anyways, we're of the southern kingdom. We will be free because we will be taken in the chariots. But imagine when we come back, what this world will look like. It will be completely peaceful and clean. Well, let me change those words a little bit, because we'll be coming to fight in that war with Armageddon. But after the war of Armageddon, we will experience a time of peace and prosperity, clean air, no toxins in the air, no toxins in the water, no toxins in the ground. You can grow food and it will be 100% natural and clean. Can you imagine living in a world like that? Look at the world we're living in. You look overhead, you got those white streaks over your head. Those are chemicals that they're spraying in the air. It's all part of how they use that. I know I'm way off topic, but I'll get back. They use that to control the weather. Globally, I hate to use that word, worldwide, because the world is not a globe, but they use the chemicals in the air, and I can get into detail with that, but I don't want to. But they use it to control the atmosphere, to control the weather systems around the world. That's what technology is doing today. You want to continue living with technology? Come on. Let's move back on to what we're talking about. Alahayam will be the one who will draw these armies led by Gadriel and his henchmen leaders to come into our land. He will put hooks, which means ha, which is a nose ring, in their jaws. The imagery that Alahayam wants us to see here is the manner in which he will be controlling this wicked army and Gadriel. They can't help themselves. Like you would control an animal like a horse. You know, have you ever seen a horse in actual life? They're massive creatures. I was shocked when I saw one up close. You know, you see them from far away, or you see them, on television or what have you. But when you see one up close and personal, these creatures are massive. And yet, if you sit on its back and you put reins on it, around its mouth, you can guide this horse wherever you want it to go because of the reins. So this is the idea of how Alahayam, Yahweh, is speaking through his prophet to let us know that he would be the ones guiding these people into our land, because he's going to destroy them. And they can't help it. This means that they will not have any other choice, any other option, but to be led into our land. And to further increase their evil desires to conquer us, Alahayam will use other nations to entice them through lust. This we will see later on. He will utilize all the different things to draw their attention to our land, to make them think it is possible to go in there and conquer them and take away and destroy them in the process. That's what they're thinking in their minds, and that's how these devils think. They can't think any other way. Notice their mode of transportation and the weapons that they will be using. Nothing technical and no advanced technology. Horses, horsemen, body armor, bucklers, shields, and swords. Now, buckler is a small shield. That's for hand-to-hand combat. And a shield is a lot bigger. And then they're using swords. In some places, they're using, they're like javelin, spears. All right? This confirms the destruction of technology by seal number 6, the great earthquake. So now let's move on to verse 5 of Yahazakaal chapter 38. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Torgama of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with you. So these are all the other people that we were talking about. I mentioned earlier that it's not just the European and Asians, but Africans as well. All right? Now, the earth will be divided up during the millennial reign of Hamashiach into quarters, and we looked at that in the last study. We see that some of these people, Torgama, will favor the northern quarters. But before we look into this land division, let us understand who these other nations are and what they represent in this coming end times event. Persia are the people of the said name. So you have Persia, the land, the country, the people. All right? Or rather, in this case, in verse 5, these are where the people will be descending from. They represent the people of the north, and today they are called the Iranians because they changed their name from Persia to Iran. But this prophecy has more to do with principalities, spiritual realms, and their origins. So it has to do with the principalities and the origins of these people. Al-Hayam wants us to understand who these people that will be. Yes, they're going to be amalgamated, but they have an origin. And the origins of the Persians were the Indians from India, and the origins are from Japheth. So there you go. Ethiopia is Kawash, which means Cush or black. These were the descendants of the Africans who descended from Ham, the son of Nach. Libya inhabitants were the descendants of Put, the people of northern Africa. Again, more Africans. They descended from Ham as well. Gomer were the descendants of the son of Japheth, also called Gomer, and this will be the Celtic people, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, etc. More Europeans, right? Torgama is descended from Gomer, who was the son of Japheth, and this will include the Armenians. What we're seeing, even from the previous group of people discussed before, Meshach and Tubal, that these armies of Gadriel would descend mainly from two sons of Nach, who is Japheth and Ham. So let's look at 1 Chronicles chapter 1 verse 5. And the sons of Japheth, Gomer and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tiras. And the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz. Now, does that sound familiar? Ashkenazi Jews, that's what they call themselves. Sephardic Jews. They're not the original people of the land of Yashrael. They're descendants of Japheth. Look at where their forefathers from. Ashkenaz. All right? And Riphath and Torgama. And the sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, and which Tarshish is Spain. Kittim are the Italians, and Dodanim. The sons of Ham, we have Cush and Mizraim, that's Egypt. Put and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Seba and Havilah and Sabta and Ra'amah and Sabtecha. And the sons of Ra'amah, Sheba and Dedan. And Cush began Nimrod. He began to be mighty upon the earth. All right? So those are the descendants, and you notice some of those names were repeated in this prophecy in Yahazakaal. Because Al-Hayam wants us to know that although these people will be amalgamated, they will come from two sons of Nach. All right? So let's read on. The nations that Yahazakaal mentioned in this prophecy are the descendants of the two sons of Noach, Japheth, and Ham. The names of their forefathers are ancient names, but the names of the people who descended from them were changed. Hence the difficulties identifying some of their origins. Nevertheless, we know that Magog will be of the evil mixed multitude offspring of Japheth and Ham. That's it. That's all we need to know. We will now look at how the land will be divided up amongst the Gentiles, as there will no longer be boundaries. Those boundaries were removed by the sixth seal. The sixth seal, it did not only did it destroy the technology on the earth, but it restructured the earth to make it one landmass, one continent. All the continents and some of the islands came back together again and become one landmass. And when that happened, the boundaries, the invisible boundaries that we know of, by studying geography and whatnots, those have been removed. Those boundaries are gone. So people now are free to travel. Free to travel. You don't need to take a ship or airplane. You can just get on a horse, get a cart or what have you, and travel. And because of the destruction that was on the earth, a lot of people are going to start migrating. Because, remember, water was affected. The land was affected by these judgments. So they're going to try to find places where there's fresh water and food, where they can make shelter. And that's where the mixing is going to happen. Although some people will say, we're going to stay within our own people. Our own people, we'll travel in bands, and we're going to stay within our own people. So let's look at how the land will be divided up. And let's read that again. We will now look at the land, how the land will be divided up amongst the Gentiles, as there will no longer be boundaries. The land will be divided into quarters, or rather sides or parts. Now imagine Yashwa'al, central of all the earth, extending all the way northward and southward where no other people can live, except to the sides. On the western side, there is the northern portion and the southern portion. Those are the quarters, right? And on the other side, they will be the same for the eastern side. So you have the northern portion, or the northern quarter, and the southern quarter. So that's why he called them quarters or parts. Therefore, when the prophet said north parts, he was speaking about the north portions, or the parts to the eastern and the western sides of Yashwa'al. Okay? Revelation chapter 20, verse 16. When the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle. The number is as the sand of the sea. So we looked at studied this scripture already, but this is just to show you when Yawachanan, when he wrote this prophecy, he also called it the four quarters of the earth, because that's how the earth will be divided. Except Yashwa'al will be one whole. On both sides of Yashwa'al will be the quarters, the northern quarters and the southern quarters. Okay? So let's look at Yahazaka'al chapter 38, verse 5. And we read this just now. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands. The house of Torgama of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with you. All right? Eventually, the entire earth will be renamed Yashwa'al. But this will occur after this final war. Once all the rebels are weeded out and destroyed, then the earth can be renewed and renamed to be Yashwa'al. Yes, the new earth will be called Yashwa'al. But after the war, after this last war, he is going to rename the entire earth Yashwa'al. So let's read on. All the inhabitants on the earth, including the righteous Gentiles that are left, will come into covenant with Alahayam and possess these quarters. Yarowashalam will be the city in the middle of the earth, and Mount Sayawan will be in the center of Yarowashalam. Yarowashalam, the city, the great city, will be occupied by the 12 tribes of Yashwa'al, which will be made up of towns or cities or villages without walls. But until then, the land will be called Yashwa'al for now. So right now, the middle portion is called Yashwa'al, and on both sides, they're called the quarters. The north quarters and the south quarters. But after this great war, then what was called once called Yashwa'al, the whole land mass is going to be called Yashwa'al, but what was once called Yashwa'al in the middle will be renamed Yarowashalam. All right, and that's where the 12 tribes are going to live. And in the center of that is going to be the one mountain that will remain, and that's Mount Sayawan, where the tabernacle of Alahayam Yahweh will be. Awesome, awesome. Zechariah chapter 2 verse 3. And behold, the angel that talked with me went forth, and another angel went out to meet him, and said unto him, Run, speak to this young man, saying, Yarowashalam shall be inhabited as towns without walls, for the multitude of men and cattle therein. For I, said Yahweh, will be unto her a wall of fire round about. That's glory, that's his glory, and will be the glory in the midst of her. So not only is he surrounding us with his glory, but he is going to be dwelling in our midst, and that will be his glory, and we will be dwelling in his glory. In fact, the entire earth will be covered with his glory. There'll be no more sun or moon or stars, because the sun and Ha'aba will be the light thereof on the earth. The entire earth. That's why it's going to be renamed Yashwa'al. It's going to be renamed after him. Upright of Alahayam. That's what our name means. All right. Let's go on. Zaka'al chapter 38 verse 10. We haven't gotten there yet, but we will get there soon. Thus saith Yahweh Alahayam, it shall come to pass that at the same time shall things come into your mind, and you shall think an evil thought, and you shall say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates. That's how we will be living in our land. No gates, no bars, no walls. Okay? Because we will have the glory of Alahayam protecting us. Remember, these people, the Gentiles on the earth, even at this point of time, they will still have their sin nature. We will not. And now we see the evidence of why Alahayam is going to sift them this last time. He gave them 1,000 years of peace and prosperity to show them this is the way that you can live if you obey me. But if you don't, well, I'm going to destroy you. But obviously they didn't believe that they could be destroyed. But that's the evil that's in them through that sin nature that they have. And we talked about that in the last study. Okay, let's look at verse 7 of Zaka'al chapter 38. We will come back to chapter 38, verse 10 in the next study, in the next slide. Be you prepared, and prepare for yourself, you and all your company that are assembled unto you, and be you a guard unto them. And that word guard means mashamar, meaning to watch, have observance. So he's wanting them to observe them, look at them, See how they glisten. See how they glow. See how rich and abundance of things they have. He wants them to see us. All right? Al-Hayam is urging this great army made up of multitudes of people to gather together and to even observe what is going on in the land of Yashraal as a way to further entice them to war against the 12 tribes. They're going to look at us in our goodly apparel and they're going to be thinking, we want that. We're going to be decked out. They're going to want the silver and the gold that we'll be wearing. All right? We're going to have cattle beyond cattle. Orchards and vineyards. They're going to want to come and take it all away from us. They're going to be so enticed because they're possessed with evil spirits and they can't help themselves. They can't think straight at this point of time. They see blood and they want blood. They want to kill and they want to take. Can't help themselves. But this is all Al-Hayam's doing. And we're going to see an example of this that had happened before. All right? This is Al-Hayam's way when he's about to bring judgment. And when he's ready to destroy his enemies, he lures them. This is what he did in Armageddon. He lured them into the valley of decision. Okay, let's look at verse 8 of Yahazakaal, chapter 38. After many days, you shall be visited in the latter years. You shall come into the land that is brought back from the sword and is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Yashraal, which have been always waste, but is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Al-Hayam caused this great army to go up into the land of Yashraal because of the lure. He's enticing them. He set hooks in their jaws, and they cannot refuse. We know that this event is set in the future, in the end times, because of this sentence. After many days, you shall be visited in the latter years. And that is a phrase, after many days and also in the latter years. Those are words that describe the end times. When Al-Hayam is referring to the end times in his prophecies, the prophecies that were done, that were spoken and written down years and years ago. Because he knew that in the last days, this event is going to take place. Or whatever the prophetic event is, will be taking place. Many days and in the latter years are referring to the end of time. When Al-Hayam will visit, meaning pagad, punish, to pay attention to, look about for, to remember. He's going to remember all the evil that they have done. And he's going to take vengeance on them because he's going to remember. That's why vengeance is not in our hand, and it should not be our way. We are not here to take revenge or vengeance. Vengeance belongs to him. He said, I will repay. We need to maintain our stand for righteousness and holiness. Let him seek vengeance on our behalf. And he will. He remembers every little thing that someone has done against us. He remembers the big things and the little things. We're not here to justify ourselves. He justifies us. Because now Allah, throughout these judgments that we have been studying, we have seen how Allah meticulously destroyed our enemies. And he will do the last two wars. We will see it with our own eyes. And he has it planned to a T. No one can plan a war like he could. And he planned this war eons ago. So we don't need to take vengeance. We don't need to revenge ourselves. We don't need to attack anyone. We just need to sit back and put the ball in his court by worshiping him. When we take revenge, then we take the ball out of his court, and then all the bad things will fall on us. Why? Because it is not our place to take revenge. It is him that does it all on our behalf. Because Satan wants us to take revenge. Because revenge now lures you into a dark place. Hatred, anger, wrath, and to murder. Allah does not want us to be like that. He wants us to be peacemakers. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of Allah. Habanai ol Yahweh Allah. That's who we are supposed to be called. But when you're out there fighting, and some of y'all fight with words, you can cut down, you can cut down a person and dice them, slice them and dice them with words. Vicious words. But Allah said, don't worry about it, son. Don't worry about it, daughter. I got your back. You just get up from there, shake it off, and just move along. Just keep worshiping me, because I'm keeping record. I am keeping careful records of all the evils that have been done against you. And when the day of recompense comes, I'm coming out for blood. So you don't need to take revenge on anyone for what they've done to you. Vengeance is mine. I shall repay, saith Yahweh Allah. All right, let's move on. He will attend to this last evil group, causing them to ride out in this war. We are given a brief history of our land and our people, brought back from the sword. That means war. We were brought back from many wars and gathered out of many people. We were slaves in many times throughout our histories. Through our history. Many times. So now, when we look at those two phrases, brought back from the sword and gathered out of many people, are the reasons why these people in this great army will be judged and destroyed. Our land, Yasha'al, was involved in many wars in the past. Now, not only the land, but the 12 tribes, and especially the southern kingdom. Most of these wars were at the hands of our enemies, who besieged us, slaughtered us, and enslaved who they did not kill. When we look at the nationalities of those who will be in this army and where they descended from, then it is no coincidence that Allah is seeking vengeance to destroy our destroyers. And when I say that, they descended from the slave masters that enslaved us. They descended from the murderers that tortured and killed and slaughtered our people. That's who they descended from. That's why they can't be any better. Evil within them is inherent. Even though there's no Satan for the 1,000 years, no Satan on the earth, he's been locked away in the abyss. His demons have been deactivated. The fallen angels deactivated. They've been locked away. They've been frozen. So there will be no temptations and provocations during the 1,000 years. Yet, these wicked Gentile inhabitants, the one called Magog, they will be resentful, lustful, envious, and full of jealousy. Where do you think that come from? They're just like their forefathers from eons ago. The ones that tried to destroy us. It's inherent. And even when Allah gave them an opportunity to turn their lives around by changing their hearts towards Him, you know what they did? They pretended all along, yeah, I'm just going up here for now. But the first chance I get, I'm coming in and destroying these people. You think that He didn't know what was going on in their hearts? But they had to obey Him and bring their offering. Had no choice. So these are the ones, and these are the reasons why Allah is going to specifically destroy them with the worst kind of destruction, even beyond the 7 vials. Destroyed and been eaten. All right, let's read on. Let's see where I left off. Allah will lure them into the mountains of Yashwa'al to destroy them. The war of Armageddon was fought in the valley of decision, but this war will be fought in the mountains of Yashwa'al. And He brought the war to the land because the land needed blood to be cleansed, to be further cleansed, to be further satisfied because of all the previous wars that it has been through. Yes, He sent the 2 witnesses to purge out the land. And there was a lot of death and bloodshed in the land. But now He's bringing back the nations that came against us and shed our blood in the land and even in their lands. So He's bringing them back. The war of Armageddon and the war of Gog and Magog. One in the valley and one in the mountains. And He will destroy them there. And then finally, the land will be satisfied because evil now is completely vanquished. Let's read on. Let's look at Yawa'al chapter 3 verse 14. This is the book of Joel chapter 3 verse 14. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of Yahweh is near in the valley of decision. And that's where the war of Armageddon was fought, in the valley of decision. Now Allah is declaring the safety of His people once they are in their land, which will be forever. No one will ever make us fear again, and no one will ever enslave us again. He will gather us out of the nations where He had scattered us, starting with the southern kingdom first, then the northern kingdom last. The last shall be first, and the first shall be last. Sorry, I read that around. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first, but it should have been written the other way around. The last shall be first, and the first shall be last. The northern kingdom was the first to be scattered, and will be the last to be regathered. All right? The southern kingdom was the last to be scattered, and they will be the first to be regathered by Allah. So let's look at verse 9 all the way through to verse 12 of Yahazakaal chapter 38. You shall ascend and come like a storm. You're going to climb up the mountains of Yashwa'al like a storm. You shall be like a cloud to cover the land, you and all your bands, all the different groups that make up this army, he calls them bands, and many people with you. Thus saith Yahweh Elohim, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into your mind, and you shall think an evil thought. And you shall say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates, to take a spoil and to take a prey. You see the reasons why they're coming? To turn your hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods that dwell in the midst of the land. This is the reason why they're coming, to pillage, to destroy. To destroy first and then pillage. And then take up ownership of the land. These multitudes of armies being led by Gadriel are being lured into our land, the land of Yashrael, to try to pillage us once again and to take us as captives again. You see, they want us to come and serve them. They want us to serve them. They want us to be their slaves. These will be the thoughts in their minds, which Elohim will cause every one of them to be deceived by their own avarice. But contrary to what happened to us before, when our forefathers rebelled against Elohim many times, and we were enslaved, slaughtered, and pillaged, so these ones think that they will have the might to do what their forefathers had done to us before. Pharaoh and his armies, who were driven with the same thought that they could recapture and enslaved our forefathers once again when they left Goshen. So he thought that he could ride after them, capture them, and bring them back to be his slaves once again. This is the first Exodus. Instead, they were met with their destruction in the middle of the Red Sea. So these ones will be driven by the same insane thoughts that will lead them to their utter destruction. You see, Elohim always has a plan. So let's see how Elohim is going to carry this out. He's going to carry it out with precision. All right? Because he's done it before. And he's given us an example of how he did this before. So let's see how he is going to do this. Elohim will be in full control of these wicked armies and Gadriel and his fallen angels. He's the one drawing them through Gadriel and the other fallen angels and the devils as well, the demons, and all by divine design. So let's look at the book of Yahweh, the book of Jubilees, chapter 48, verse 10. Even after all these signs and wonders, Prince Mastema, which means hatred, another name for Satan, was not put to shame because he took courage and cried to Matzarayim, which is the Egyptians, to pursue you, speaking of the 12 tribes of Yashrael, with all the power Matzarayim had, with their chariots, and with their horses, and with all the host of the peoples of Matzarayim. But I, now this is Elohim speaking, I stood between Matzarayim and Yashrael, and we delivered Yashrael out of his hand and out of the hand of his people. Yahweh brought them through the middle of the sea as if it were dry ground. So he brought the 12 tribes through the Red Sea as if it were dry ground, dry land. Verse 12. Yahweh Elohim through all the people whom he, Mastema, brought to pursue Yashrael into the middle of the sea, into the depths of the bottomless pit, beneath Habanai ol Yashrael, even as the people of Matzarayim had thrown their, meaning Yashma'al's children, into the river. So you see, like I said before, Allah remembers, and he will revisit when it's time for him to take vengeance on our enemies. So they took our babies, our male babies, and threw them in the river. This is what Matzorayim did, and what Allah did to recompense us, to repay them, or is it recompense them? Sorry. What Allah did to take vengeance on them, he caused all these chariots, the army of Matzorayim, to drown in the Red Sea. All right? He caused them to drown in the Red Sea. He had a purpose in mind when he caused Mastema, Satan, hatred, to be the driving force to cause Matzorayim to change their minds, to come after Habanai ol Yashra'al. Allah wanted his people, our forefathers, to see the destruction of their captors, of their slave masters, of their persecutors. He wanted them to see his might and his power, that there's none above him, only beneath. And when he sets out to take vengeance, he does it completely. And this is what he did with Matzorayim, that was once their slave masters and persecutors. He took vengeance on 1 million of them, meaning the people of Matzorayim. In addition to 1,000 strong and energetic men were destroyed because of the death of the suckling children of your people, which they had thrown into the river. So Allah knew, of course he knew, the evils that were done against his people. They weren't supposed to do that. So guess what Allah did? Not only did he destroy their firstborn sons, firstborn children, it wasn't just boys, firstborn children, whether it's a male or female, animal or human. And then he destroyed the army of Matzorayim, along with Pharaoh, their god. See how mighty Allah is? You don't cross him. They destroy our children, he destroyed them. Let's look at verse 13. On the 14th day, and on the 15th, and on the 16th, and on the 17th, and on the 18th days, Prince Mastema was bound and imprisoned and placed behind Habanai ol Yashra'al, so that he might not accuse them. So what happened on the 14th day? On the 14th day, which would be the preparation. Let me think here for a second. Don't want to be wrong. This would be the time of the Passover. All right? The 14th day. Let me check to make sure. Yes. The 14th. Can you imagine? I wanted to say the 15th day, but I'm on a high here, right? So things, dates and stuff just goes out of my mind. Forgive me. So on the 14th day, throughout this, and this is when they started, they had the Passover, and this was the literal Passover where the angel of death passed over and killed off the firstborn of those who did not have the blood over the lintel and side posts of the doors. And this was also the time when they gathered themselves together to leave on the first Exodus. So Allah, what did he do? He bound Satan, the Satan that had possessed this dynasty, this empire through Pharaoh. He bound him. And not only did he bound him, but he also bound the others that would have been assisting him, to give Yashraal a chance to get out of Matzorayim, to get out of Goshen. He bound him. Let's read on. Let's see what else he did. So Prince Mastema was bound and imprisoned and placed behind Habanai old Yashraal so that he might not accuse them. On the 19th day, we let them, meaning Mastema and his demons, he let them go. He let them loose so that they might help Matzorayim pursue Habanai old Yashraal. So he bound them so that Habanai old Yashraal can leave. And after they left, then he released this same devil and his demons, so that now Matzorayim is driven by this evil desire to pursue them, to capture them, to enslave them again. Verse 15, he hardened their hearts and made them stubborn. Now, when we read the Bible says that Yahweh Elohim hardened Pharaoh's heart. It was not Elohim Yahweh who did it himself, but he caused a devil, a Satan, to harden Pharaoh's heart. This is the will and this is the plan and purpose of Elohim. He uses these Satans, the devils and the demons, for his own plans and purposes. He caused the devil to harden Pharaoh's heart through stubbornness. And the plan was devised by Elohim that he might strike Matzorayim and throw them into the sea. He wanted them to become stubborn and hard-hearted, and to want to seek revenge, so that they will pursue them. They will not have a thought of fear of all the different judgments that they've been through. They wouldn't even remember, because all they're seeing is red. My firstborn baby was killed. They're seeing red at this time. And it's because the devils are helping them to see red. The devil and his demons. See how Elohim works? He has everything under control. Even the devil and his demons. He has them under his control. Let's read on. Verse 16. On the 14th day, we bound him that he might not accuse Habanai or Yashraal on the day when they asked Matzorayim for vessels and garments, vessels of silver and vessels of gold and vessels of bronze, in order to exact from Matzorayim a price in return for the bondage they had been forced to serve. They were forced into slavery through trickery. They had hired them, they had helped them build Ramses and all the different pyramids and stuff. Our people did that. And they were supposed to pay them. And they started paying them, and then they stopped. And once the people, they came under, the people, our forefathers, came under their control by the taskmasters that they placed upon them. And it broke our spirit. You see, the only way that you can get over on us is to break our spirit, because we are strong people. Listen, we're still here after all these thousands of years of persecution. We're still here. Why are we still here? Because we are a unique people. I'm not here patting myself on the back. I should have been dead a long time ago, but I'm still here. Why? Because I'm unique. We're unique. We are unique people. Because we are the chosen of Allah Hayam. So they enslaved us through force. And now Allah Hayam is going to get us reparations. You see all these foolish ones running to the government with their signed documents with all their names and addresses and email addresses on these pieces of paper? Well, the government is going to come after you. You want reparations? You're going to get a nice bullet in your behind. And if you do get a dollar, you're going to have to sign it with your blood. And you're going to have to jump through a lot of hoops and loops. When the Father is ready, He is going to cause them to literally lay reparations, lay the silver and the gold at our feet. It's coming to us. We don't need to go and get it. It will come to us. All right. So when it was time for Yashraal, the 12 tribes, on the same 14th day, this is before sundown, before the Passover, during the daytime, he bound Mastema and his demons again. He bound, in fact, it did say on the 14th day in verse 13. This is the reason why he bound them in verse 14. So that Habanai ul Yashraal can go to the Egyptians and tell them, I'm here. That's all they had to say. We're here. Open up your doors. We're here. The Egyptians already knew what it is they had to do. The silver, the gold, the bronze, even they even took beaver skins, all kinds of stuff they took. All kinds of things. And a lot of these things that they took from them were used to build the tabernacle in the wilderness. I said beaver skins, but I might be wrong. It was some sort of skins and dyes, colors. All right? They took it all. Vessels, bronze. Let's read on. Verse 17. We did not lead Habanai ul Yashraal from Matzorayim empty-handed. When it was time for them to leave, they did not leave empty-handed. They did not leave poor. They left filthy rich. Listen, it's not going to happen for the southern kingdom because we're going to be regathered in a very unique way. But where we're going to be rich. Now, I'm not saying this to bring lust or greed for wealth. But what I'm saying to you, you're going to get what belongs to you. You don't need to go and slave for the man anymore. And you don't need to sell yourself short or sell yourself out. You need to maintain righteousness and holiness unto Yahweh Allah Hayam, to serve His Son, to love His Son. And all these things will be given unto you. You don't need to do anything else. You're trying to make a life here? Forget about that. What's this life have that Allah Hayam can't give you better? Everything that you work for comes with sorrows and burdens and grief. You make $1, the government takes 75 cents from that and leave you with 25 cents. You work harder, you work overtime, you make $2, they take $1.75 out of your check and leave you with 25 cents. You still don't even, in fact, they take even more. Leave you with 10 cents, leave you with a dime. I'm just using this as an example. I know I've been there. You work overtime and you're thinking, okay, I calculate my hours. I should be getting a big salary this month. And when you look at it and you see all the taxes and all the different things that they take out, and your salary is lower than if you didn't work overtime. You understand? But that's a tactic of the enemy to get you to keep working harder, to keep striving higher. Oh, maybe if I go and take a course, I can go and work and get a bigger a bigger job, a higher position. And then you have less time to yourself, less time for your family, less time for worship if you have any at all. And pretty soon, your whole life is consumed with work and family life. If you have a family. If you don't have a family, then other extra curriculums you may have. And where's Alahayam in all of this? Well, I don't really need him now because I got a good job. And I'm kind of getting everything I need anyway. Those are thoughts that come from the evil spirits. If you're poor, bless the Most High that you're poor. Because one day you will be rich. And you don't have to pay anyone anything. It's going to come to you. And why it's coming to you? Because you were obedient to Alahayam. A lot of our people are greedy. I see it all the time. Greedy for money, greedy for position, greedy for power, amongst other things. Our people suffer with lust, the spirit of lust. And it goes not even for money and things, but for whether a man or a woman, or men or women. Lustful. We are a lustful people. And we think that we need to go out there and get it because society has trained us to think that the reason why we see the billionaires, the ones flying around in jets and what have you, having the multi-million-dollar homes and whatnots, the reason why they got that is because they worked hard. They started out in the garage, building the little whatever it is they built, whether it's a computer or whatever. They worked hard. And now look, it's paid off. So all you have to do is work hard. Work a little harder if you have to, but eventually it will pay off. And it never will. Not for our people. Even if you make it, you've lost your soul in the process. Guaranteed. You've lost your soul. Because you can't make it in this world and keep your soul and worship Alahayam. There's no way. Because whatever is in this world is enmity against Alahayam. He said it, not me. So if you're friends with the world and you love this world, you're an enemy to Alahayam. And that's why many of us, I shouldn't say many, but the remnant of us, we suffer. We suffer because we are worshippers, true worshippers of Alahayam, and therefore the world hates us. But Hamashiach said, they don't hate you, they hate me. They hate me. And as long as we are believers in Hamashiach and we walk in his commandments, walking in holiness and in righteousness, the world is going to hate us. And so things aren't going to fall into our laps the way how we want it to be. You're going to have to work a little harder to get that dollar. But Al-Hayam said, don't work harder, just work smarter. If you worship me, I'm going to cause that dollar to come to you. It will be sufficient for you for today, and let tomorrow take care of itself. Just worship me. I'm going to cause that dollar to stretch. Just worship me. I got things under control. Don't let your eyes fool you. Don't let your ears fool you. Know that I have everything under control, even these devils and demons. I have them under my control. But when you step out from my glory, the glory that I have hedged around you, now you're in his environment. You're in his territory. What did Satan say to Alahayam about Yawab, who is Job? When Alahayam said, have you considered my servant Job? What did Satan say? I can't reach him. You got him hedged around. And Job was a righteous man. So that's an example for us to live. When we lived in righteousness and holiness, he comes and he hedges us around. Protection. The ultimate protection. Life insurance can't protect you. Health insurance can't protect you either. But it is his blessed assurance that protects us. His glory that surrounds us. When we walk in his word, when we walk in truth, the light, which is his glory, not only does it surround us, but it exudes from inside of us. You think darkness can come near this light? It cannot. When I read these verses like this from the book of Jubilees, we have nothing to worry about. We're hearing of wars and rumors of wars and all these different things that happen. We have anything to worry about? No. Alahayam's got them under control. He's closing down the chapter now. He's getting ready to regather the southern kingdom. So these things gotta happen. We just need to praise and pray and worship. Okay, we're almost finished. When we read the scriptures, it appears as if it was Yahweh who had hardened the hearts of Matzorayim. Well, yes and no. Alahayam will command the evil spirits to do his bidding and only his bidding. They don't have an original idea in their brain. And anytime they want to do something, they got to get his permission to do it. They were the driving force behind Pharaoh and his army to pursue Yashraal in the Red Sea. Yet it was Alahayam that commanded these evil spirits to do this to them. He bound them when it was time for Habanai ol Yashraal, the 12 tribes, to leave. And before they left, they went and pillaged the Egyptians, Matzorayim. He bound them. When he knew that his people were far enough, then he released them and caused them to harden their hearts so that they will want to pursue Habanai ol Yashraal. This is all the work of Alahayam. All right, let's read on. This is how we know that we can overcome Hashatans and their evil plans if we are obedient to Alahayam. We have seen this occurring also in the past study, when Alahayam had put it in the hearts of the kings to hate the whore and to destroy her. So the 10 kings hated the whore of Babylon, and it was them that destroyed her. Why? Because Alahayam had put it in their hearts to do this thing. They burnt her with fire. Therefore, this is not a new revelation. This is what he does. Let's look at Revelation chapter 17, verse 16. And the 10 horns which you saw upon the beast's empire, which is empire number 8, led by Azazel, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For Allahayam had put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree to give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of Allahayam shall be fulfilled. Now, I've done this study already. I just read this for reference, okay? So he put it in their hearts to hate the whore and to destroy her. Okay? Allahayam is not sleeping. He already had everything planned from the very beginning, even before he brought creation in this world. He already knew exactly what everything is going to happen. He knew that Adam and Hawa were going to sin, and he already made a way for them and their descendants to come back to him before he created them. Can you imagine the power, the omniscience, the omnipotence? Can you imagine? Why would you want to serve any other God? Well, he's not a God. He is Allahayam, ascended glory. Why would you want to worship pagan gods? Why would you want to deny his son who leads you to him? Why? When we see his power and his might, it is to encourage us to know that he is Hashaddai, the Almighty, and there's none above him. And before he was, he is, and before he is, he was. He is the Ancient of Days. There are no numbers that can quantify how old he is. Nothing. And yet you want to serve another? Yet you want to play with him? You really don't know his might. And when he comes for destruction, he comes without apology, because he has given us and the people in this world ample amount of opportunities to get it right. He sent his son. The last thing he did, he sent his son. He had sent his apostles. Well, he sent his apostles after his son. He sent his prophets before he sent his son. And whether it is us that destroy them or our enemies, that's what happened to them. And now finally he has released Ruach HaKadosh, and even him people want to reject, because they want to reject the Son. You can't get Ruach HaKadosh without the Son. You got to believe in the Son to receive Ruach HaKadosh. It's not the other way around. He was the one who brought forth, or rather, he sent Ruach HaKadosh to the earth for us to fill in the gaps in our missing history, to bring revelation, to help us to understand truth. There's no other way. All right, let's move on to the last verse for this study. Still in Yahazakaal, chapter 38, verse 13. Like I said, my brain just... So let's read. Sheba, which is descendant of Sawaf, and Dedan, a descendant of Jokshan, and grandson of Keturah. So that's who Dedan is. So Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish, who is Spain, with all the young lions thereof, shall say unto you, are you come to take a spoil? Have you gathered your company to take a prey? So this is the enticement now that Al-Hayam is going to use the villages, the villagers, the ones that have kept themselves apart from Magog. Remember the remnant, the 1/6? These are them. All right? So he's using them to send further enticements, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, to take a spoil. Hey, you notice that? You notice that they got silver and lots of it? Man, it's running like water over there. Same thing with the gold. You see the jewels that they got? The cattle, the herds, the goods, the goodly apparels. These people live in some fine homes. They got vineyards, they got fields, they got orchards, they got it all. They don't really have to work hard for anything. We got to go over there and pick their stuff, pick their fruits. You, well, actually, Sheba and Tarshish, and then I got a little carried away with the narrative there. It will be the it will be Magog that will have that thought in their mind that they're the ones that have to go and, you know, pick their fruits for them. And while they're there, they're seeing the wealth. But Tarshish and Sheba and Dedan, right? They're going to be the ones to point out the fact that these people got stuff. You planning on going to get it? Let me know how that worked out for you. Oh my goodness, sometimes I can just envision these things. And it's Ruach HaKodesh that helps me to, envision how it will be because it has happened before. So this is not a stretch of imagination here. This is what we've seen happening before. We were dwelling in our land and we had it good. The first generation that entered into the land flowing with milk and honey, richness and sweetness. And what happened? Because of disobedience, we were kicked out of the land and things were taken. Our temple, with all our silver and gold and our brass and whatnot and bronze, was all stolen. The only things that they couldn't steal were the genuine articles, the original articles that were made by Masha. All right? Well, Masha didn't actually make them, but he instructed the craftsmen to do it. All right? So when I say Masha is the period of time these articles came from Masha. All right? So all our stuff was taken with the exception of the original articles, the sea, the basins, the Ark of the Covenant, all these different things, those Alahayam took himself. We know that. It's written down. All right? So, Sheba, Dedan, and Tarshish, the merchants of Tarshish, they're going to be used by Alahayam to further entice these people to try to gather together to war against us. All right? There are duplicates of names in the genealogy of our people and that of the other nations. It is for this reason why we have to be careful when it comes to the names. The names Sheba and Dedan are the descendants of Japheth, but these names are also descended from Sawath and Abraham. Keturah was Abraham's wife after Sarah died. She bore him many sons, and Dedan was her grandson. Spain seems to be the only European descendants that will not go to war with Yashwa'al. However, they will be used by Alahayam as they will be their neighbors, and along with the remaining fallen angels to taunt and entice these armies to further lure them into the mountains of Yashwa'al to be destroyed. Their intention is to steal and destroy. That's always the intention of Satan, to steal and to destroy, and especially Yashwa'al. And here he wants to do it once again. but Alahayam will destroy them instead. Alahayam always has a plan. Alahayam Yahweh always has a plan, and all of his plans work out beautifully to accomplish all of his goals. There's never a time that he has a plan that has fallen through. All his plans, they come to pass. All his prophecies, they come to pass. Everything that he speaks comes to pass. And that is the ending of part 5. And now we're going to do the blessing for Yashwa'al, taken from Debarayam chapter 6, verse 24 to 26. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 24 to 26. Yebarakak Yahweh wa Yashamarak. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. Ya'ar Yahweh panayo alayak wa yahanak. May Yahweh cause his face to shine upon you and have favor upon you. Yasha'a Yahweh panayo alayak wa yosham lak shalom. May Yahweh lift up his face upon you and give you peace. And now we're going to say the command that we are supposed to recite when we lie down, when we get up, when we go out, and when we come in. Shama'o Yashwa'al Yahweh Alahayano Yahweh Ahad wa Ahabath Yahweh Alahayak Bakal Babak Wabakal Napashak Wabakal Ma'adak. Hear, O Yashwa'al, Yahweh our Alahayam is one Yahweh, and you shall love Yahweh your Alahayam with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And that I did not tell you the scripture that was taken from. My apologies. It's taken from Debarayam chapter 6, verse 4 and 5. Debarayam chapter 6, verse 4 and 5. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4 and 5. And with that, I will say, Shalom, Shalom, all praises to the Most High, Abba Yah.